Hi, everyone. I am Wendy Watson. I am the organizer and hostess of the Sass Cash and Class Conference that is coming up in April 5th of 2025 on behalf of She Talks, Lead and Empower Her. So the mission of Lead and Empower Her She Talks is all about creating a supportive and uplifting sisterhood. And the mission for this conference is to show women that we can have it all without feeling like we have to sacrifice anything, which I know is a big struggle for females. So it's important to have all of our voices heard. And Tami McVay is going to be one of our keynote speakers, which is, I'm just so blessed to have her on. Tami, would you like to take a few minutes to introduce yourself?
Oh, yes. So Wendy, I'm so excited to, be here with you and then also to be a part of this conference because I think just to have such a platform to elevate women the way that Lead and Empower Her She Talks does, I think it's just going to be a gift. So I'm grateful to be a part of that for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So you have really been in a couple of male-dominated industries, in the Marine Corps and in the IT industry. What are some of the challenges that you've experienced that you would like to bring to this conference and for the women to take from?
So in my time in the Marine Corps, and then again, once I got into IT in the early days of the internet, really having like in the Marine Corps, it was a ratio of 200 men to every woman. And so I found that there were always a lot of assumptions. Like people would just make assumptions about how you were because you were in that environment or what skills you had because you were in that environment. And I've just come to find over time that it was always up to me and how I continued to build myself, how I continued to show up, and how I also supported them or called them out if things were kind of going south. And so it was always up to me to really command that respect. And the only way I could do that was to make sure that my head was strong, be strong in mind and body, and then always building those skills so I could outrun them in any arena.
That's right, because you can.
Yeah.
And is this what you plan on bringing to the conference? Is something along this lines, or what are you planning on bringing?
Yes, because I feel like there's always this common thread, whether it's because now as an entrepreneur, you're still always having to build yourself up, and we a lot of times we forget that we create the rules. There really are no rules, and I remember one of my biggest aha moments was I was in corporate and I had just come back from an amazing vacation. I was sailing around the BVI's. And I pulled in with one of the guy coworkers and he asked how my vacation was. I told him it was amazing. And he's like, I can't believe you do that. And I looked at him like, well, what do you mean? You could do that too. And so I think that a lot of times just having a circle of powerful women is so helpful in that arena because you see somebody doing amazing things and you're like, oh my gosh, you do that? I could do that too. They seem normal, like they're just like me and they're kind. I don't have to be intimidated. I can ask them questions. And so to really just bring home that message in a way to the audience so that way they can go home and really look at their lives and how they can take action and do the things that they really want to do to make that impact that means something to them, whether it's for them or their families or their kids.
I love that because it's so important that we incorporate all of those components, right?
Mhm.
So you speak about helping people build their strongest selves mentally, physically, and spiritually. How do you see this aligning with the mission of our conference to empower women in business and personal development?
So the saying that I have is work is personal and personal takes work. Because we've all been there. Like you could be, really going crazy, doing things in your business, working on some big project, but then, you're going through a breakup and you just finished crying your eyes out the night before and, you got bags in your eyes, maybe you didn't sleep. And so, you have to find a way to rally in that or if you have, you're up for promotion and you don't get it, like that is a very personal feeling. And so I think that it really, the business and life and the whole work-life balance is something that has never quite clicked with me, because when you're really passionate about something, there is no balance. You're just like, yes, let's go. And you're kind of setting some other things aside. But the key is to not like let it all fall apart. You still have to kind of maintain this piece and while you really go all in on this other piece.
Yes. So Clementine has decided to join us. Speaking of balance. So there's ebbs and flows in life. There's ebbs and flows in business. What are some of the tips or tools that you use to help keep the balance between business and personal life and everything? What are some of the things that you do?
Well, for me, like I know it's, really mainstream is to do like 90-day goals. For me, one of the biggest mind shifts about that for me personally is once I left corporate, because when you're in corporate, you have this big project that could take years. But in when I had to control everything in my business and my personal life, having that 90-day time frame was such an eye opener for me, because all of a sudden it gave me this freedom. Like I was never letting something go. It wasn't like, yeah, I had to pick a path and I was going down that path forever. It's like, okay, 90 days, it's an experiment. I go all in on this for 90 days, and that thing can wait, and I'll get to that the next 90 days. And so I never felt like I was missing out, because also, and then you learn lessons from that. You take that experience, you adjust, and you continue it again for another 90 days to take it to that next level. Or you're just like, yeah, that wasn't really my thing. I didn't enjoy it like I thought I would, but hey, I did it. Because for me, it's all about like, I'll try anything once. But it makes me that much more knowledgeable, and to be able to share those resources with other people, even if I'm not necessarily doing that anymore.
Right, because what may work for you may not work for somebody else, or what didn't work for you might work for somebody else.
Yes. And the same thing, like we go through those chapters and ebbs and flows, like maybe it didn't work for me then, but now I'm ready to hear it and
Mhm.
ready to implement it.
Absolutely. Yep. I love that. Your motto is build the few to impact the many. How do you believe this philosophy can inspire the women at the Sass Cash and Class conference to become stronger leaders and create positive change in their communities?
Hmm. Yeah, so this, whenever we create things in our business, you're always looking for that ultimate little tagline that all of a sudden you're like, ah, that's it. And so that's how I felt about build the few to impact the many. And I think it's really important in today's society, because you have the Instagram and you have like these people with hundreds of thousands of followers, and so as you're like building your own thing, it can feel like, oh, well, I'm not there yet. And so all of a sudden I realize none of those things matter really. What really matters is that if you can change a life, that's what matters. And I was speaking at a charity event, and a year later, a guy came up to me in the audience, and he had been in the audience, and he told me I saved his life. And we cried together, and every time I see him, we cry together. And so it was that moment I just realized, like, none of those metrics, none of that matters. If I can build a few people that really want to make a significant difference in the world, and off they go and they do their thing and they impact their few, then that's how we really make a massive change.
And that, same for the 6 degrees of separation, right? You impact one, you impact six more, times six, right?
Yes.
So it's not really about millions of people. It's about the little ones, because generally we're not going to impact the entire audience, right? None of us are 100% perfect.
No, not at all. And all those people in the audience, they're going through their own things. And so something that, maybe you've said 1,000 times, or you've even seen them before, and then all of a sudden you say it today, and it's just the right thing that they need to hear in that moment. And so, same thing, you look at that audience, you have an audience of many, and you're like, if I can impact a few and off they go and they really run with it, then I'm happy.
Yes. So why this particular conference, and why lead and empower her, she talks?
Well, like I said, I feel there's so many different conferences out there. And if you look on social media and you see, the graphics for any conference, you'll see like 5 male speakers and the one female. And, some groups are better about that than others, but for the most part, our voices aren't always heard in the way that they should be. And so I think to have this where not only the people on the stage, the people behind the scenes, the people that are in the audience, like these are women that really see themselves as either a leader or an emerging leader, or maybe they don't even see themselves that way, and they're kind of hoping for that kernel of motivation because they've gone through something. Like you never really know where people are at, but to be able to be in that community where we can support each other and cheer each other on, and there isn't that, cat fighting or, comparison, that it really is like, hey, how can I help you win?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what is one thing that you would like to leave the audience with on this interview as far as how to create balance and why should they attend our conference?
Mm. So creating balance. I feel that you always have to focus on your foundation. And if you can continually make that foundation part of your day, and so whether that's through, your routines or your habits or what you do to, keep your head in a positive, strong place, really making that foundation a priority, then it will get you through the good times and the bad times. And by doing that, you're going to be able to weather those storms and have that resilience and remind you of why you're out creating your mission. And so I think that balance the pendulum has to swing always to the favor of the foundation. And then the rest kind of takes care of itself. So, and then as far as coming to the conference, Colorado in April is amazing. I've lived here for 30 years, for one. But like I said, I feel just having an amazing group of women that are doing really cool things that will help you open your eyes to what's possible for you. I know that when I was first starting on my journey, I had connected with a neuroscientist who was teaching coaches about the brain. And I just thought, what? Why would you go to school for something like that? You just picture them being a doctor. And so I think getting around people that they're so creative and, maybe it'll spark an idea for you or they'll introduce you to someone that you need to know. So I've always found, you got to show up and get in the room and see what happens from there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for you guys listening out there. Come to the conference. It's the Sass Cash and Class Conference held by Lead and Empower Her She Talks. You can find it on Eventbrite. You can find the links on Tami's LinkedIn page or my LinkedIn page. And come listen to what Tami has to say. She's a super powerful woman. She's, just amazing and outstanding and has a lot of great insights and is very inspiring. And we're going to have a very cultured speaker lineup. So it's going to be a great conference. Tami's going to bring a ton of value. You have no idea. You do not want to miss out on this. And so we will see you April 5th, 2025.